inspections. So again, I'm Kristen Mason-Creyas. I am owner of the Homebuyer Mason team, which is a small real estate team working in Northern Virginia. And we have two administrators, Ernst being one of them. Our other administrator is not with us tonight. And we have two buyer specialists on the Homebuyer Mason team. Kristen, we have another Kristen. So you get two Kristens for the price of one at Homebuyer Mason, also known as Kerr, K-E-R, and I'm KMC. And we have Latoya Silver Stewart. Ladies, do you want to say hello?
Hi, everyone. As Kristen said, I'm Kristen R. or Kerr, buyer specialist on the Homes by Mason team, and really thrilled to have everyone here. Welcome.
Oh, is that Khaleesi?
No, I think we have someone
Was that somebody
on.
else's baby?
Yeah.
Oh, no worries. We can hit me. I thought that was Latoya's baby in the background.
I have that
Yeah.
impact on babies.
Hi, everyone. I am Latoya Silva Stewart. I did make some calls. You guys probably heard my voice and familiar with it by now. Um, I'm one of the buyer specialists at the Owned by Mason team. And thank you guys for coming and for being here with us tonight. We do have a lot of value to share with you.
Thank you. And then we have a special guest speaker and a co-sponsor, James Gaudiosi. Uh, James, go ahead and introduce yourself, I guess.
Hi, I'm James Gaudiosi with Atlantic Coast Mortgage. I've been a mortgage loan officer going on my 25th year. So I love the job. I love helping people get in their house. I love using first-time home buyers to do that. It's one of the true joys of my life is to help people take that first step to buying the first home. So that's what I really enjoy about this job. And it's not really a job, it's a lifestyle. But it's so great to be here tonight, and I'm excited to speak with everyone. Thank you.
So James and I have been working together. I've been doing this about 16 years, well, exact 16 years. I have a 16-year-old who was in my belly when I started. So that's why I know I've been doing this 16 years, and I've known James almost that long. So he and I have been working together for a very long time. I tease him all the time. I'd get rid of him if I could, but I can't because he does such a good job. I am a top producing realtor in Northern Virginia. So that's our next slide. So some of my accolades are top real estate agent recognized by Northern Virginia Magazine. I am one of the top 500 agents in Northern Virginia. The Northern Virginia Association of Realtors has recognized me as a lifetime top producer. Part of the top agent network in Northern Virginia. Washingtonian Magazine has recognized me. I'm a five-star agent with Zillow. KW Platinum Club. What else? That's Virginia Living Magazine. And then James is a top 1% originator of mortgages in America and also recognized by the Washingtonian. And what's that other one? Scotsman's Guide. Can't read that. So we kind of know what we're doing. We're kind of good at what we do, but more important than that, we do enjoy what we do. Do I have my next slide? Oh, I'm missing the slide. My next slide, it was in my last presentation of the clients. I actually do have a slide where I share our clients. That's really why we do what we do. It's not about this stuff, but it's about helping people. I also was a teacher at one time. I taught high school way back in the day, and so that's one of the reasons why I love doing these webinars. I love teaching people about the process, and we love having educated consumers because that helps make the process smoother and helps you all to be able to make the best decisions for yourself. So that's why we do what we do. So for tonight, this is our plan. Preparation leads to success. So we are going to start tonight with finding out a little bit how you are feeling. We are going to ask you to maybe type in the chat or unmute yourself. Mostly we'll probably stick with the chat for now because we do have a lot of people. And at the end, do not worry, there is going to be a chance to a Q&A period at the end. So in the meantime, if you do have questions, please put them in the chat and then we will be sure to go back and answer questions later. So for those of you who might not be familiar with the chat, it should be in your toolbar. There should be a black toolbar if you're on a desktop. Down near the bottom, there should be a chat box there. And if you're on a phone, I think you tap your phone in order to get the chat box to come up. So we're going to, of course, talk about the advantages and the myths about home ownership. James is going to give you an overview of the lending process. He's going to talk about low down payment and grant programs. And then I'm going to talk about the overview of the home buying process and the next steps. We are not going to be here for more than an hour. We don't plan. And so unfortunately, we don't have enough time to talk about everything tonight. And so there will be an opportunity at the end to schedule for your next steps. We do offer private, no cost, no obligation, one-on-one consultations with people, and we do recommend that as a best next step. So at the end, we'll give you an opportunity to do that. So we're going to start, as I said, how are you feeling, right? So everyone here tonight should be a first-time home buyer. Probably that's what we were advertising. This is a first-time home buyer program. So if you all could practice using that chat and let us know. Oh, and where'd my chat box go? Hopefully someone else can see the chat. So let's see what here. Yeah, here is a chat box. Good evening. I feel cold but excited. That's Kristen on our team. Ready to purchase. Yay, Dorothy. That's exciting. What else are people feeling about being a first-time home buyer? Curious to learn. Great. Again, I'm a teacher. I love that. Feeling eager to learn. Another person interested about the grant programs and the resources available. That's James is going to be talking about that here shortly. What else? I got a thumbs up. That might be from my team. Heart. Anybody else? Anybody else? Nobody's got feelings tonight? Is everybody eating? And as a reminder, if you did come in later, we would love to see your faces. Feel free to share your faces. Hungry, that's James. He didn't eat dinner apparently. All right. So a lot of home buyers have some nervousness about the process. So, and maybe you're shy about saying that. I'd like to hear your take on the current housing market. That's a great question. Tonight, we're not probably going to dig into the current housing market. Overwhelmed, absolutely. Yep, we expect that. The current housing market, we do definitely get into in those one-on-one buyer consultations. We actually share with you the most current statistics and trends in our local market and talk to you about what's happening there. So we won't have time to dig into that tonight. Maybe we'll touch on it in the Q&A. We can probably, as long as there's time, we'll touch on it in the Q&A. First-time home buyer for sure. Yep, everybody here tonight should be a first-time home buyer. You are not alone. Feeling good. All right. So what we usually expect to hear, and maybe none of you out there are feeling this, but I'm excited to learn more. Stressed, concerned, uncertain, anxious, right? Like these things, in case anybody out there is feeling these things, totally normal, right? And that's probably why you showed up here. Education can help reduce that. And we are hoping by the end of tonight, if you're feeling any of these things, you will hopefully feel less of those things by the end. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to James, who I know people are eager to hear what he's got to say.
Hello, hello. Thank you for the warm introduction. So the first thing I was really going to start off is what are the real benefits of home ownership? Whoops, let me shut that down. It's going to be annoying on my side. Give me 1 second. There we go. Sorry about that. So really the first thing we look at is why buy a house, right? What does it really create for you? So one of the things we want to talk about is renting versus owning and the wealth gap. So Federal Reserve data shows that homeowners on average have a $430,000 median net worth, while renters only have $10,000 median net worth. So homeowners are actually on average 40 times wealthier than renters. The majority of that wealth is really from the equity in their homes. So we know by purchasing a home, it's really going to help grow equity for you over time. I think you can click the next little thing. There we go. So why does home ownership build wealth? Homes appreciate over time. When we look at the period from 1994 through 2024, the average home price per year was increased 4.63%. So if you look at that time period, U.S. home prices nearly tripled. So when you pay your mortgage payments, you're not only paying down the principal, so paying down your loan, but you're building equity as the value in the house goes up. So mortgage payments build equity for you. When you're paying rent, you're building equity for your landlord. All right.
tax
Great.
benefit.
So one of the other awesome advantages of purchasing a home is mortgage interest deductibility off your federal income taxes. So what happens is at the end of the year, you get a 1098 form. It shows you how much you paid in interest, and then you actually are able to subtract that interest off of your adjusted gross income on your income tax return. So if you've been filing a very simple tax return, you're going to need one that actually has a little bit more paperwork, but you're going to be able to go in there and deduct that mortgage interest. So if you're a single person, you can deduct the mortgage up or the interest up to a $375,000 loan. If you're filing jointly, you can deduct the mortgage interest up to a $750,000 home loan. That doesn't mean you can't, what if I get a home loan for 400,000? Does that mean I lose my deduction? No, you simply use a prorated formula and you still get to use up to that 375. So you still get that tax benefit, which ultimately results in you paying less federal income taxes. Great. We can go to the next slide. All right. So we're going to hammer out the first time home buyer myths. These are 5 myths to stop people from buying. One of the first things people think all the time is, I don't have 20% to put down. So we have programs that require really as low as 0% down to purchase a home, which is so awesome for the first time home buyers out there. Myth number 2 is my credit has to be perfect. That is not true at all. Actually, the conventional loans, Fannie and Freddie, have just reduced their guidelines all the way down to 600 credit score. And FHA and VA loans can even go lower with lower credit scores than that. So your credit does not have to be perfect. And if anything, some of the guidelines have relaxed recently. All right, myth number 3, we have the interest rates are too high. When we look at them historically, they are a little bit high right now, but they've actually fallen down to the lowest point they've been in 4 years. So historically speaking, they might be a little higher than average, but now is really the best opportunity we've seen in the last 4 years to purchase a home, with interest rates being hovering in like the upper 5s, lower 6s. I mean, there was a point over the last couple of years where they really hit 8%. So they're in a really good spot right now if you're looking to purchase a home. Another myth is that I can't compete with cash buyers, or I've heard about all these banks and these large BlackRock and all these other companies purchasing all the properties. That's not true. A lot of times people don't want to sell their home. They'd rather sell their home to an actual person or a family or a couple. And with using strong strategies, both on the real estate side and the lending side, oftentimes we can have a more compelling offer than a cash buyer. And we've won. I know I've won with Kristen. We beat out cash buyers, sometimes with actually offering less money than the cash buyer was going to offer. So strategy, working with real estate professionals and building a contract strongly will give you your best chance in actually winning. So don't worry about that. Myth number 5 is I should wait until I make more money. Hey, making more money is great, but when someone asks me when the best time to buy a home was, I say yesterday, and the better time than that was the day before. So it's important that you try to qualify for something now and start building into building into your wealth now. The other thing you could potentially do is by making a little bit more money, you could actually kick yourself out of some of the programs we're going to talk about tonight, because most of them are income restricted. So a little raise is great. A big raise is awesome, but you also may be kicking yourself out of some of these programs. So it might make more sense actually, if you have a raise coming down the line, it might make sense to buy something now as long as it's within your budget. And that way you can still take advantage of some of these programs I'm going to discuss. All right. I think that's enough for the first time buyers. All right. So this is here to confuse you, because it seems like it's a long, winding road to get approved for a mortgage. It's actually very, very easy. You just fill out an application, which I'll provide you the information on my website. We'll go ahead and collect stuff like your last 2 years W-2s, your pay stub. I think that comes on the next slide, but your pay stubs, similar stuff like that. We run a quick credit check, and then we're able to see what you qualify. So getting the loan application filled out is really the most vital part of the process on my side. It gives us the information we need to see what programs or grants are available for you. And then it certainly gives us the ability to figure out how much you qualify for. So it's a very easy process. Don't be scared. I know that map was scary, but it's not scary at all. So for most buyers, what we need is the loan application, your last 2 years of W-2s, your recent 30 days of pay stubs, and 2 months of your bank statements. We use a online verification system. I think it's called Truth. So if your banks or your business, your employer, um, what's the word I'm looking for? Works with them, it'll automatically pull all your information. We've had applications where people literally didn't have to get me a W-2 or pay stub. It verified the employment automatically and verified the bank statements automatically. So if your banking institution or employer subscribe to that or have a relationship with Truth, it makes it so simple. Otherwise, you're going to have to gather these documents. If you're self-employed, we'll need both your personal and business tax returns, unless you have a business that does not run with a separate tax return, then we would just need your complete personal tax returns. So pretty easy. Next biggest question people say is, what do I qualify? How do I know what I qualify for? Here's what I make. What can I actually qualify for? So we use a very simple formula called debt income ratio. It's basically compares your monthly debts to your gross monthly income. We ideally want that below 45%, but we can often go up to 49.9. And so I'll just show you how we come up with the detail on that next slide. So let's say, for example, you made $10,000. We'd like to keep your debt to income ratio below 45%, which means your total monthly expenses have to be $4,500 or less. Let's say you had a car payment of $600, a student loan payment of $250, and a credit card of $200. We'd simply subtract that out from that $4,500, which means you could have a maximum mortgage payment of $3,450. So that's how we figure it out. It's really just simple math. I oftentimes just figure it out with a calculator and a pen and paper. All right, so let's go to the next slide, which is closing costs. So just like when you purchase a car, you have closing costs or additional fees that you pay, state sales tax, processing fee, etc. You have the same thing when you purchase a home. So typically in Virginia, the closing cost is going to be about 3%. It's going to include, lender fees, title and settlement. There's a settlement company. It's going to pay for your state and local tax stamps, because the state and the county are going to get paid or charge you a tax for purchasing a home. We're also going to establish your escrow account so that your property taxes and homeowner insurance is paid through your mortgage. And then your homeowner's insurance escrow. So basically it covers all the costs, all the taxes, all the insurance, all the establishment of your property tax escrow account, all in one lump sum. So you always want to think about 3% when you're purchasing a home and what you need for down payment. Or if you're going to use a program without a down payment, you're going to need to come up, with 3% one way or another. All right. So moving on, I'm going to talk about low down payment conventional options. The biggest ones we use is the Fannie Mae Home Ready program and the Freddie Mac Home Possible program. Those are both income restricted. But what they do is give you reduced interest rates and lower mortgage insurance. Mortgage insurance is a additional charge you pay on the loan if you don't put 20% down. So these programs are very beneficial. They get you better rates and lower cost. Also, if you're a first-time buyer, you're eligible for just a normal first-time buyer program with both for a conventional loan. So 3% down, lower interest rates, discounted mortgage insurance. We have some pretty flexible income guidelines, and we compared this program with grant money if grant money is available for you. All right, so moving on, another great option is our FHA loan option. That's through the Federal Housing Agency. Instead of putting 3% down, 3.5% is required. I would say as a whole, it has more forgiving credit guidelines. You can actually do with a little bit lower credit scores. Many times it offers a little bit higher debt to income ratio, so you can purchase a little bit more, and it can often be used for people with limited credit history. And then another great option for first-time buyer is for if there's any veterans out there, the VA home loan. It's available for eligible veterans and reservists. It provides 100% financing, also has very forgiving credit guidelines, and allows much higher debt to income ratios. And there's no mortgage insurance. So it's a great product if you're an eligible veteran or reservist. This is probably a very, very good program for you to take advantage of. All right, moving on. So now we're going to talk about my favorite, Virginia housing, which I do probably more loans with Virginia Housing than I do with any other type of loan. We use it mostly for first-time home buyers, but they do have some options for non-first-time home buyers. But the biggest one we use with them is the grant program. So I know we just saw on that slide or previous slide, maybe it was a slide, couple slides before, you need 3% down to use a conventional loan. Virginia Housing will give you 2% of it. So if you're purchasing a $500,000 house, they're going to give you $10,000, and then you'd have to come up with the closing costs and the 1%. If you weren't able to qualify for the conventional loan and you were doing the FHA loan, you have to put 3.5% down. They will give you 2.5% down. So you will just need 1% down plus your 3% for the closing costs. So Virginia Housing is like I said, one of my favorite programs. They reduce mortgage insurance. They have no adjustments for credit score. It's really just a great program. And on top of that, the grants. All right. So if you're doing a VA loan, you'll get a 2% grant. You can use that towards your closing costs. All right. And next slide, we got the Virginia Housing Plus program, another awesome program. Unfortunately, this cannot be used with the grant, but this is an alternative financing to actually get you financed to 100%, meaning no down payment at all, or 101.5%, depending on, they have a little bit higher credit score requirement for that. But you can actually then put nothing down, get 101.5% financing, which means half of your closing costs is covered, which means you only need 1.5% left. So for example, you're buying a $500,000 house, you just need $7,500 to purchase the house. So if you use the Virginia Housing Plus program, so there's no grant, but it allows you to finance either 100 or up to 101.5%, obviously reducing the amount of cash needed to just 1.5% of the sales price. So that is an awesome program available with both the FHA or the conventional loan. All right, moving on, I'm going to talk about our ACM Home Start grant. This is a separate grant that's done with our conventional Home Ready product. They will give you 1% of the loan amount. It will be grant. They'll give you a grant at closing. So the maximum loan amount for this product is $400. So this would most likely be someone maybe purchasing a condominium. And you have to put a minimum of 3% down with a maximum of 5%. So this would be separate from the Virginia Housing Program, but it would still give you a 1% grant and then be able to take advantage of those better rates and lower mortgage insurance with the Home Ready program. So 3% down payments required. We went over that, reduce mortgage insurance, and just one applicant must be a first-time home buyer. This is also going to be tied to some income limits. So, and the next slide. Oh, I did want to talk about one more thing just really quickly. So the Spark program, which will be, it's actually not on here, but the Spark program will be coming out. It will be through each individual county. The Spark last year was an additional 1% off Virginia housing interest rates. So like you could use it with the grant program or the 101.5% program. That'll come out individually with each county, and it should be getting launched here any minute now. But you'll get a full 1% reduction off the normal Virginia housing rates. So instead of being like it's something like 5.8 or 5.7, you'd actually be something like 4.7 or 4.8. So, and you still can use the grant or use the 101.5% financing. So be on the lookout. I'll have some information on that as these grants become, or as the Spark program becomes available. All right. And then just bring it all together. Like we discussed, homeownership is a great wealth building tool. You certainly don't need 20% or perfect credit. We showed you a lot of programs where there's grant help, where there's 100% or in one case, 101.5% financing. Planning early positions you for success. So if you're interested in purchasing something, I would get on it. Even if you want to do it later in the year, it's great to look at it now. We can do a financial overview. We can see if anything needs to be fixed, if you need to pay something off or whatever we need to do. But the sooner you get in touch with us, actually, the better. Even if you're, like I said, even if you're planning to purchase later on in the year. So the next step really is to get an application filled out, and then we'll build a time to meet with you one-on-one, just like Kristen will meet with you one-on-one to talk about some strategies, talk about the programs that are available for you, and set you up for success. Thank you so much. That's all I got.
Well, I just want to add, James, before you're done. I mean, you kind of skipped over the line that says if you wait, funds might run out.
Oh, yes.
Well, And
Yeah,
because, like, I mean, I just want to be honest, right? And because even when we were advertising, a lot of people showed up tonight, and we're so happy that you all showed up. And one of the things we said was, if you wait, it might be too late. And the truth of the matter is that James had to change his slides tonight. We've done this webinar 2 times already this year. We've been trying to get it in as many times as possible early in the year because a lot of the money is first come, first served. And according to
it's
James, what
gone. It's gone. Yeah, so I had some additional grant programs that literally I just found out over the last couple days the money's all gone. So that's really like when this stuff comes out and like when the Spark program rolls out, it goes fast. Like people are lined up and they're ready to go. A good thing is those grant programs that just expired, those normally come back later in the year. So if that's something that's really important to you, maybe we start planning for you so the next time they're rolled out, you're ready to roll and your application is first because it's like Kristen said, it's first come, first serve, and the people that are already ready they get the money. So that's how it works. We'll be in touch. There's my information. Thanks so much for letting me speak.
Yeah, and so again, I just wanted to add that, that if you wait, it might be too late is not just a sales tactic. Like it was legitimately, we were trying to get people in the room and get this information before the funds ran out. And so, you did miss some already, but as James said, some of it will come back. There'll be more money later this year. And oops, somebody is in the waiting room. If my team can help whoever's in the waiting room get in. Ernst, if you can help with that, and anybody else can help and make sure that whoever wants to come in comes in. So, what was I saying? That, yeah, that again, like James said, planning early so that if you do need that extra money, you can be in line and be ready whenever it rolls out. James, there was at least one question in the chat about wanting more information about the Spark program. And so he can answer that in the chat. And as I mentioned before, there will be a chance at the end to a Q&A section. Ernst, if you can, like I said, I think there's a way to make sure now that anyone who comes into the waiting room automatically comes in. If you can try to set that up, that'd be great. We don't want people sitting in the waiting room. All right, so now it's my turn. I'm going to talk about the overview of the home buying process. As a reminder, there's more to it than meets the eye. And so we're going to give you the highlights and the key points tonight. And we're going to give you an opportunity to sign up for an individual one-on-one consultation with us. There's no cost, there's no obligation to do that. And we find out more about your wants and needs in that. And we'll share with you the current statistics and market trends in that and answer any other questions that we don't get to answer tonight. So the main thing is when you are thinking about buying a home, right? So this little roadmap, one of the first things you want to do is either this webinar or right, pair it with a buyer consultation where you can get all of your questions answered and more, right? Dig into more that we'll dig into tonight. Contracting with a realtor so that you have a realtor working for you and your loan pre-qualification. So those are the 3 first steps in the process, and that puts you in the position to be ready for the home search. If you're thinking about it, you might be looking online, right? That's kind of the fun part, is looking at houses. We enjoy that too. But we don't want you falling in love with something that you're not ready to get. So these first steps put you in that position. So if you do find something amazing that you love, hopefully you're ready to take the next step, which is to make an offer. And when it's time to make an offer, we want to make sure that you have a strategy in place for that as well. So that's another thing that we talk about in that one-on-one consultation, is making sure that there's a strategy to make sure that you can buy the home for the best possible price. There are some contingencies and some deadlines in the contract. We have a team of admin. Ernst, who's hiding behind that logo, actually takes care of our clients from contract to closing. And so while there are some hurdles and hoops that you don't see on this journey here, we oftentimes are jumping hurdles and going through hoops to make sure that everything does happen. We want you to feel like this when you get to the closing table. We want you to feel like, wow, that was a smooth process. and low stress. We can't take away all the stress. Inevitably, buying a home has some stress involved with it, but we're going to do as much as possible to minimize that for you. Your biggest job in the process is to work with the lender to get the full loan commitment. That pre-qualification is your first step, but the lender, you bring some of the money, right? You're going to pay your closing costs, as he mentioned, and perhaps some down payment money. And then the lender is going to write a big check. Okay. They bring the bigger check to buy the home. And so in order for them to do that, they're going to ask you for a lot of things. James mentioned the pre-qualification stuff, but then after that, they've got to check all of the I's, make sure they're all dotted, make sure all the T's are crossed. And so you have to do that part. We can't do that part for you. And the rest of it, we try to take care of as much as possible. So the search for the right home, again, the fun part, which you might already be doing right now. And the biggest thing on this slide that I like to point out is the iceberg. Okay. So because what you all have access to online is only the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more inventory coming to the market that is below the surface. And that's what we as professional realtors can tap into. When you are working with any realtor, you're going to be searching on your own. We know that. That's totally fine. And any good realtor is going to set you up through the MLS to get updates directly from the MLS. And when you work with Homes by Mason, we do that and we do more. So we have a great mobile app that we share with you that if you're in a neighborhood and you're like, I want to know what's for sale in this neighborhood, you pull up the app and it's going to bring up everything that's right there in the neighborhood. You can draw a circle anywhere on the map to find out what home prices are any place. But more importantly than that is this networking with realtors, because realtors are talking to sellers every day about listing their homes. I've got a handful of sellers already that we're signing paperwork with this week that my calendar right here, we're plugging in dates for when we're going to list those homes. And so we network with other realtors to find out what's coming to the market before it hits the market. And then also, if you identify a neighborhood, I'm working with clients right now who are like, we really love this neighborhood. It's great for us and what we're looking for. And so we will send a letter to everyone in that neighborhood to say, we have buyers who want to be in this neighborhood. If you are thinking about selling, please contact us to see if it's a good fit. And we'll knock on doors. We will do both of those things if there's a particular neighborhood you're interested in. Oh, so sorry, that was a buzz because a costly mistake can be just searching on your own. We are also part of a top agent network. That is a great resource. So the top agents in the area, we can send a buyer blast out that says, we have a buyer looking for this. So that's another way to tap into what's below the surface. And the listing agents are also every day sending emails saying, I have this coming soon. We're willing to show it before it's even on the market. So those are some ways to tap into what's below the surface. And when you do find that right home, another costly mistake can be not asking this question. Is there room to negotiate? We treat your money like we treat our own money. We want you to have as much money in your pocket at the end of the day as possible. So you don't even have, if you're working with us, you don't even have to ask the question, is there room to negotiate? We're going to ask that question. And in order to answer that question, we are going to look at these two things, not one or the other, but both of these things. How long has it been on the market? And what is our opinion of price? In order to determine our opinion of the price, we're also going to look at a couple of things there. What a home sells for is the market value. So it's what a buyer is willing to pay and what a seller is willing to sell it for. That's the true market value. And so listing agents are kind of guessing, right? I mean, they're trying to hit that market value. If the seller and the listing agent get the market value right, then they're getting the right number of buyers through the door. About 60% of the buyers are coming through the door if they've hit the market value. If they have undervalued that home, then they're getting a ton of traffic. They're getting 90% of the buyers through the door that they need. And if they've overpriced the home, then they're only getting 10% of the buyers. So how much traffic is going through the home is one indication of the price, whether they've hit it right or not. Of course, we're also going to run the comps and give you our opinion based upon that. But this is another really good indicator. And you can see this for yourself if you're going through open houses, for example. How much traffic are we seeing? How much traffic are they getting at an open house? And then another way that we can see how much activity a home is getting is when we schedule a showing, we can usually see how many other appointments have already been scheduled. And we'll pick up the phone and reach out to the listing agent and ask them, how much activity are you getting? So that helps us determine whether they've hit the market value or not. And a home, especially in our area, typically, well, it gets its most attention the first 14 days on the market. And in our area, it very well may be sold. When I sell a home, my average days on market is like 17 right now. So in the first or the second weekend, oftentimes homes are selling. So usually you don't have much room to negotiate in the first 2 weeks on the market. Now, just because it has been on the market longer than that doesn't automatically mean you have room to negotiate, because they might have priced it too high to start, but they might have dropped the price yesterday. So say it's been on the market 30, 40 days, but if they just dropped the price, then their clock resets. So they then kind of have another 14 days to see if they've hit the market value or not. So that's how we determine, those are some of the things we're looking at to determine if there's room to negotiate, because a big part of our job is to negotiate for you. We enjoy negotiating. We want to negotiate if we can for you. So another costly mistake is not understanding the market trends and the statistics and what's going on in the market. My buzzer is always delayed. So this is actually an older view, right, of the market trends. So that we track the trends regularly. We're looking at Northern Virginia Association of Realtors, which is Arlington, Alexander, Fairfax, and Falls Church. So that's what this data is for, but we can look at different areas and different regions as well. And price is a matter of supply and demand, right? Basic economics. That's the one thing I remember from my economics class in high school. So these yellow bars are active listings, and that's your supply. The purple bars are pending contracts. That's your demand. So in this case, you can see there are some times when there was more demand than supply, when the purple bars are higher than the yellow bars. That's not good for price, right? Too much demand, not enough supply drives price up. And then you can see later, supply was outpacing demand. That's better. That's a healthier market. So in this market, less room to negotiate, probably prices are going up, versus in a time when there is more inventory, that's a better time for buyers. And so this is part of what we look at with you, like I said, in that one-on-one buyer consultation, is what's happening now. This is, an older chart just to give you an idea of what we look at and how the market trends, because that's the other thing. There is some seasonality to our market. So you can see that the market does tend to go up and generally peak in or around June, and then tend to come down. We're actually, the price, we have another chart that we share that has the price on it. And you generally see prices peak in June and then come down towards the end of the year and then go back up. And so not knowing what's happening in the local market, not understanding the statistics and trends, can also be a costly mistake that could cause you to pay too much if you're not tracking that. Understanding the terms of your offer, another super important part of the process. As I mentioned, we don't have time to get into everything. I'm just going to hit on some of the key points. An earnest money deposit is something that it's money that you need to have available to put down as a promise to the sellers that you're not going to walk away for no good reason. And that is typically, it can be whatever you want it to be. We advise that it's about 2%. So, and that money is not extra money you're paying. So James talked about what you need for closing costs and down payment. And this can be the same thing. So you put down a deposit, and if everything goes as expected, then that deposit goes towards what you owe at closing. It is not extra money you pay, but upfront money that you pay. But you do need to have that available when the contract ratifies to be able to move forward in the process. And the typical contingencies are a home inspection contingency, a finance contingency, an appraisal contingency. And if you're buying in a condo or an HOA community, there's a review period. So those are your typical contingencies that we would use. And in a competitive market, which we are often in, again, depending upon what's happening in the market, and the market changes on a dime. So, we definitely go through times when it is more competitive and times when it's less competitive. Right now, someone did ask about what's happening right now. It's a softer market right now, but normally this time of year, everything is increasing. Activity is increasing, price is increasing normally this time of year. We are definitely still seeing multiple offer situations, but not all of the time. So again, tracking the trends, knowing what's going on where you're looking is super important. We do want to talk about if you do end up in a competitive situation, there are ways to strengthen your offer. We do have several tools in our tool belt to do that. We're going to talk about one of the most important ones here, the home inspection strategy, because there are people who do waive their home inspection. That's one of the first things that a lot of people will do to be more competitive is waive the home inspection contingency. Virginia is a buyer beware state. Sellers do not have to disclose anything except for active code violations, defective drywall, or prior use as a meth lab and lead-based paint. Those are the only things the seller has to disclose in the state of Virginia. So we don't like our buyers to waive the home inspection. We want our buyers doing a home inspection. We want our people buying homes with their eyes wide open, knowing what they're getting into. So we do have two other strategies that we suggest to be competitive rather than out of the gate waiving the home inspection. An alternative is to do an option to void only home inspection. That means that you reserve your right to walk away, but you're not going to ask the owners for anything. So that does give an owner some peace of mind, because with a normal home inspection, you can ask for anything. You can ask them to paint the house purple. You can ask them for $50,000. You can do anything on a normal home inspection. So when you say we're going to do our inspection and we're going to take it or we're going to leave it, we're not going to ask for anything, that does give a seller some peace of mind. And even better than that is the pre-offer inspection. So in this case, what we do is, and Kristen Kerr is actually doing one of these tomorrow with one of her buyers, is going and getting a home inspector, getting permission from the seller to go into the home while it's on the market. And we spend about an hour and we look at the big ticket items, look at the roof, look at the HVAC, look at the electric panel in the attic, the foundation, those big ticket items to see if there are any major concerns. And then once you have done that pre-offer inspection, now you can write an offer waiving the home inspection with your eyes wide open because you know more about that home. You're not going in blindly. And time is of the essence with that because obviously, if you're going to do it before making an offer, and if homes sell quickly in our area, which they do, we like to be the first people through the door in order to have time to do a pre-offer inspection. So like I was out with buyers this morning at 8 a.m. A home came on the market today. We were the first ones through the door at 8 a.m. because I wanted them to have the option to decide if they want to do a pre-offer inspection before other people start making offers. So then who you work with matters. That's another costly mistake that you could make. And this is another thing that can give you a competitive edge in the market. It's called the Pareto principle, an 80-20 rule. 20% of the realtors are doing 80% of the business. 20% of the lenders are doing 80% of the business. Those of us in the 20% know the others in the 20%. And we like to work with people who we know that know what they're doing and we trust will get the job done well. So I actually had the experience just in the past couple of months, 2 deals where the buyer who did not make the highest offer won the house in a multiple offer situation. And it was because we knew the realtors involved. So in one case, my clients were the buyers and they were competing against someone who offered $30,000 more, but they chose us for a couple of reasons. Again, we have other tools to make our offers more competitive, but the agent said to me that this other agent hadn't written a good offer and she didn't know that agent. And so she just didn't fully trust that agent and whether they were going to get the job done well. And so they chose us for, they again possibly could have gotten $30,000 more. And then on the flip side of that, I was a listing agent and we had 4 offers right before the snowstorm that just happened. And there was a buyer who offered more than the buyer that we chose. But in that case, I knew the agent that we chose. She's been around. I mean, I actually hadn't done a deal with her before, but I've crossed paths with her enough times that she has a reputation of getting the job done. And thank goodness we did, because we actually had a lot of problems. We ended up with a wet basement before closing after the snowstorm, and we did get that deal to closing. Like amazing, like working with another agent that might not have happened. So who you work with does matter and can give you a competitive edge. This is the Homes by Mason team. So you met Latoya and Kristen. They're here tonight. That's me. Ernst is behind the logo. That's his pretty face. And Listenia wasn't able to be here tonight. She's the glue that helps keep us all together. And when you do a one-on-one consultation, you're going to do that with one of us. The 3 agents on the team are the ones who do the buyer consultations if you do decide to take that next step. There is legal stuff. Again, we don't have time. We're going to wrap up here shortly, but we want to point out that there is also legal stuff. And we want to make sure that you do know what the legal stuff is, because we want to do things the legal way. And the reality is that there are realtors out there who are not doing things the legal way. There are contracts involved, and it is important, like understanding the contract for sale that you're going to write, understanding the contract that you have with your realtor as well, is something that we go over in that one-on-one consultation. So overview of the home buying process. Back to that, we talked about the most important first steps when you're thinking about buying a home are to start with a buyer consultation, contract with a realtor who's going to work for you, look out for you and your best interests, help you find that right home, make sure that you have a good strategy, hopefully negotiate you a good deal, and take care of all of the things behind the scenes for you so that you feel like it was a smooth, low stress process. And your biggest job is to get to work with the lender to get the full loan commitment. So that's the overview for tonight. How are you feeling now? If anybody wants to throw in the chat and or unmute themselves. I'm looking to see if there's some questions. Again, we're going to get to Q&A here shortly. And you want to share how they're feeling now? After, again, not a full, that's not all of the information that you need, but hopefully the goal tonight was to hit some of the key highlights, to give you some of the information that you need to get you started.
So hi, this was a great presentation. It's very informative. I wish we could have more of these. So this was really good. I'm feeling now like I want to know what I qualify for, because right now I'm currently renting and I cannot stand renting. I've always been that way, but because of a situation that happened, I had to rent. So now I'm at the point I'm curious to see, what I qualify for. I never heard of all of these grants, so I appreciate that. So I'm curious to see if I qualify for any of those things.
Awesome. So connecting with James is the way to find out what you're qualified for. So I'm going to share with James. I have all of your email addresses, the email addresses that you shared when you registered. And so I think you all were getting emails. You should have been getting emails from us to remind you and to make sure if you showed up here, you probably got an email because the Zoom link was in there. We're going to share your emails with James. He's going to send you the link for his application. That's the first step for him to take a look at your information, and then he will follow up with you to tell you what you qualify and what programs you might qualify for. So that's the next step, which I'm getting ahead of myself. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, absolutely. That's awesome. We're excited for you, and let's take a look and see what we can do.
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
You're
Anybody
welcome.
else, how you're feeling now? heard about people waiving inspections. That sounded scary. I really like to offer other solutions. That is one, you know what, I hear that all of the time. And that's why I share this here. Because again, and we have other tools in our tool belt too, to make the offers more competitive. But the home inspection one is the one that comes up most often, where people are like, I no way, no how, don't want to waive my home inspection contingency. We don't want you to either. So know that, yeah, you don't have to. Like you can, again, you can still be competitive. And there are those other options. We love making sure people know that. So I have a couple more things, and I mentioned to you, we were going to give you that opportunity to dig deeper in a one-on-one consultation. I think Kristen and Latoya have been dropping the link in there. If you are in the chat, they've been dropping that. I'm going to have the QR code here for you shortly. But hopefully now, I'll ask you a few questions, right? Do you feel like your time was well spent? Give me some thumbs up, anybody out there, in your reactions. There's by the chat box, there's also reactions where hopefully I can get some thumbs up or some claps maybe. All right, thank you. A couple of thumbs up. Great. Do you feel your time was well spent? Is it fair to say you learned something new tonight? It sounds like, I think it was Nicole that shared she learned something new. Anybody else feel like they learned something new? Any other thumbs ups? Awesome. Thank you, Michelle. And some other thumbs up. Perfect. Love it. Do you feel better prepared? A little better prepared? Not quite fully prepared yet, but a little better prepared. Thank you. Some more. Oh, I love the thumbs up. Makes me feel good. You feel a little empowered? Hopefully. I got a heart. Oh my God, I'm loving it. So happy. Would you like to learn some more? Nicole said yes. Nicole, yeah, there's Nicole saying yes. So what are the next steps? So we did touch on that already. Next steps are schedule a private consult with us so we can go through the rest of the home buying process with you. Again, we also want to find out about your wants and needs. So it goes hand in hand, scheduling the private consult with us and getting pre-approved. Those are really your two next steps. So we are going to drop, Kristen and Latoya, one of them will drop in the chat box that link to schedule a private consultation with us. In that, we're going to find out more about your wants and needs in order to help identify the right homes. And in the meantime, James is going to send you the link for the application. This is why we work so, I can't shake him. We work so closely together, side by side, to help our clients get to shopping for your dream home, which is the step after that, right? So the private consultation, getting pre-approved, gets you ready for shopping for your dream home, which is where we want you all to be sooner rather than later. And again, maybe you find out that, maybe not right now, maybe later, but we can plan that time for you, right? So in the consultation, you don't have to be ready to buy right now, but again, we'll share with you how the market trends. And then we can maybe, target a time for when is the right time. Maybe you're in a lease and maybe, we need to target the end of the lease, but also, if you're a bargain hunter like I am, the end of the year is often good. I call it bargain hunting season. So those are some of the things that we look at in the private consultation. So if people prefer the QR code, the link is there. Latoya just dropped the link in the chat box if you want to schedule a one-on-one consultation, or you can scan the QR code. And let me show you the job form. Yep, so this is what it looks like. The link will take you to here. And we've got appointments available through the 22nd, I think it is. So when you first get there, it's going to pull up just the first date. So know that you can scroll to another date. You can either click on the calendar here to choose the date that you want. And this is an older version of it. This is a snapshot from earlier this year. Or you can use the arrows to scroll to the different dates. During the weekdays, we have consultation times available from 1:30 to 6:45, and we also have appointments available on the weekend. We do them on Zoom, just like we do here, so no commuting necessary, no pants necessary either. And so I saw a laugh. That's just Kristen. She's on my team. Thank you, Gary. I appreciate someone other than my team members giving me some love. So yeah, so again, when you click the link or the QR code, it'll take you here and you can pick a date and a time either on a weekday or a weekend. And that brings us to the Q&A period. So it doesn't look like there's many. Have I missed some questions in the chat? Do we have any questions in the chat? Again, you can drop them in there, or if you want to unmute yourself now to ask some questions. Oh, who pays the buyer? Okay, there's a question. It looks like Kristen answered. Who's paying the buyer's agent commission nowadays, buyer or seller? Great question. So typically the seller does pay. In the contract, because we have a contract with the buyers that say that we represent you and look out for you and your best interest. And you're also going to look out for us and make sure that we get paid, basically. So it says that, it essentially says that if the seller doesn't pay, you'll pay as a buyer. But in reality, this is how real estate works. And the reason why it works that the seller pays the buyer agent is because as buyers, you all have a lot of cash you have to come up with. We talked about it, right? You have to come up with the cash for your down payment and your closing costs. And if you also had to come up for the cash to pay us, then you might not be able to afford a home. It's too cumbersome. It's too onerous. It makes it too hard for buyers to buy homes. And guess what? The sellers need you to buy the home. So they can't sell the home without you. And the best way to get you to closing is to work with a buyer agent. So that's why what happens is the buyers come with the money and the lender's money, and there's a pot of money on the table. And from that pot of money, both the agents get paid. That's generally how that works. So we have not had any issues ever. I mean, in 16 years. Actually, that's not true. There was one time, it was a really interesting time. The lender ended up paying my compensation. That was a whole nother story. Yeah. But yeah, the buyer didn't pay it, the lender paid it. So there you go. So typically the buyer's not paying it. And as agents, we work
That
with
wasn't me, by the way.
Huh?
That wasn't me,
you?
by the way.
No, that wasn't. That was a veteran's loan. You're right. It wasn't you for sure. You wouldn't have made the mistakes that they made. So, do you provide services outside of Nova? For example, if I'm interested in DC or Maryland. We have Listenia on our team is licensed in Maryland. She's been talking about getting her DC license. And we do have other agents in our office. So we have partners. So in terms of the Homestead Mason team, we mostly do Northern Virginia. We do have Listenia licensed in Maryland, and we have partners in our office. So there are other agents in our office that we partner with if we have people looking in those other areas. Other questions? And do you want to drop the link again? Oh, there's James. So in case you needed his information again, there's his information. And as I mentioned, I'm going to share with him the email addresses that I have for you all. So you watch for an email from James. Or again, you can go to his website and do the application there. But he will probably tomorrow be getting those out to you. Here's my contact information, which again, you all should have this already. I've been sending you emails and text messages to get you here tonight. So you can respond to those emails or those text messages to get to me. Our website is homesteadmason.com. There is also good information and resources available there. And then back to the buyer consultation, which is that next step. So I just want to make sure again that you've got that available for you, the QR code, if you want the QR code. Drop the, if I'm licensed in, oh, James can do loans in all the areas, Virginia, Maryland, and DC. Fredericksburg, yes, we do cover Fredericksburg. Kristen has someone looking down there now, I think, right? This is very helpful. There's Curvin. I see your face. You just shared it now. Nice to see your face. Oh, did you unmute? Did you want to ask us a question? Oh, wait, I see your mouth moving. Hold on. I think you're unmuted, but I can't hear you. Like I said, I see your mouth moving. Yeah, are you going to chat? Go ahead. Are you going to type it in? Anybody else while Kervin is typing? That would be amazing if I answered all of your questions. I mean, there's got to be more questions out there. What other questions? Like I said, we'll stick around for, I don't know, maybe 10 more minutes to answer questions if need be. But if there's no questions, then we'll let everybody go.
I have one that's actually my friend is saying to ask for herself.
Great.
So, this is the scenario is her name is on a deed of a home, but not the mortgage, and she's interested in buying. How does that affect her?
That's a very interesting question. I'm going to probably pull James in to help answer that because the deed and the mortgage, while everyone thinks, I mean, obviously you need both of those things.
Yeah,
Both of those
is
things are
there a
part of buying a
mortgage?
home, but they're different.
Yeah,
So
is there a mortgage?
There's a mortgage on the home, yes, but she's not on the mortgage itself.
Okay, she's just on
She's
the
on
deeds.
the
If
deed.
somebody else pays the mortgage,
Yes.
then we should be fine with it.
so
Okay.
it's not going to count against her debt to income ratio, James, but for
Right.
the
That's
first time
that's
home
the big
No,
buyer,
question. That's the
and
big
she'll still be
question.
because this just came up actually. Listening, I think actually she was asking about this specific scenario, and yeah, they treat it as long as the person isn't responsible for the mortgage. If they're on the deed, they should still be qualified as a first-time home buyer. Do they live there or do they live in a different home?
They're in a different home.
Yeah,
They're
it's fine.
Yeah. So they
It's just a
still
harder pitch if you're living there, but you still, I think, still technically you could get away, you'd get away with it even if she was living there, to be quite honest with you. So yeah, she has no financial obligation. Somebody else is paying it. She's not even living in the home. That should be a slam dunk, treated as a first-time home buyer.
even though she's
okay.
on the deed. I'm
Just on the
Yeah,
deed. Yeah.
just on the deed. Yeah. Because that happens a lot of times with older folks. They'll put their daughter, their son, or whatever on the deed
Yeah.
just because they're getting older, and um, but yeah, as long as that's the situation, you should be fine. We just vetted that with Virginia Housing and Fannie and Freddie, and we got the same result. So,
Yeah. Because
and
we've been
just so
talking to
everyone knows,
other.
Fannie and Freddie, everything's either owned or underwritten by Fannie
Okay.
Mae or Freddie Mac for the most part. Just, I know I'm using some loan jargon, but everything goes through, for the most part, either Fannie Mae's underwriting system or Freddie Mac's underwriting system, which they kind of have a monopoly on it.
Okay. Thank you for that. Because we've been
You're very
talking to
welcome.
other people and she gets like, no, you won't qualify for anything. She doesn't like renting like myself.
Yeah.
So,
No, I just had that question literally like a week ago or 10 days ago or something. So,
okay.
and we vetted it through the underwriting process, and they're like, "Yep, you're good."
We are glad you don't
Awesome.
like renting because we don't like renting either. Now,
Yeah,
every once in a while, like I'm actually gonna be 100% honest, like my parents are getting older, and it surprised me that we actually are thinking that at their age, maybe they need to go back to renting because they need the money out of their house. So that's one of the things here, right? Like the reason why we want people to buy homes is because we want you to build wealth, right? Like James talked about it in the beginning. The sooner you buy a home, especially in this area where home values go up much more than in other areas, like home demand, the demand for housing in this area is so strong. That's why we have really strong home value appreciation. And so I bought a home, a little like starter home, duplex home for 250,000. I can't remember when James helped me buy it. And that $250,000 home is now worth like 500,000. I mean, it has doubled in value. Uh,
Wow.
it's insane. I mean, when I say it out my mouth, I'm like, did I really only pay 250 for that? And it was, I
yeah,
don't, how many years ago? I mean,
yeah. Not
it was
that
like
long ago, really.
2016. It was like, yeah, like 9 years ago, maybe.
But that
So
doubled in value then in 9 years. I mean, basically doubled in value in 9 years.
they say that homes double in value in 10 years, so that might be on the
Yeah,
mark. So again,
Wow.
and that's why with my parents too, like my parents own a home and my parents unfortunately didn't save a lot of money. They spent it all on their kids, sending us to college. But and so now in their older age, the money that they have is tied into their home because they've owned their home forever. So if we sell their home, then we can get the money out of the home and use it for their care and things like that. And so, and we don't want them to worry about the maintenance. So in any case, so we're talking about renting for them, but otherwise, when you're younger and healthy and we want you to buy so that you can build wealth and that because when you're renting, you're paying someone's mortgage. It's just not your own. You're paying somebody else's mortgage, right? That $250,000 home that I bought, I rent out now to someone else, and those people are paying my mortgage while I'm building value. So
That's my goal,
yes.
Kristen.
awesome. And we want to help you get there, right? And that's what I did it, right? God, I mean, 20 years ago, I bought my first home, right? And when I bought my next home, I turned that one into a rental. And it's building value, it's building equity. And then, yes, someday I can sell that home to pay for my kids' college or, my care when I need it. So it is the best way to build wealth. So there's a couple other questions I saw. Do you need Virginia certificates, first-time home buyers? James. Do we need Virginia certificates?
What was the question?
It's in the chat. Do we need Virginia certificates, first-time buyers?
Yeah, it's easy. All you have to do is you don't even have to do it until you're under contract, but you just have to jump online and do an online course. And when you're done, they give you a certificate saying you've completed the Virginia housing. If we end up using, I actually believe Fannie or Freddie will, Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac will accept Virginia housing, but I think they do require with 3% down. I think they do require maybe with 5% down. They do require a first-time home buyer program, but they're all free and they're all, you don't need to do them ahead of time. If you want to do it, you certainly can. It'll just teach you more information. But they're all free and I can send you the link or you could just jump on Virginia Housing and it's very easy to navigate to find the online course. And you can just literally log on, create an account and take a course and then get a certificate at the end. So,
Yeah.
But it's not required to write the contract. It's just required. What we normally do is have people do it once they're under contract. So that's usually the easiest way to do it. So very easy to get.
And then Kervin's question, because we couldn't hear him, about how much money do you need more than 3,000 with these programs? It sounds like is the question.
If you're using the 101.5%, it would depend on the sales price. And, Kristen, I guess there are some opportunities in some cases, right, where you could get some seller credit help. So, I mean, essentially, you could really get in, like, let's say, for example, you're buying a $400,000 place, you're using the 101.5% financing. So, you need 12,000 in closing costs, of which half of it's going to be covered by doing the 101.5%. So you have $6,000 left. You might be able to get a $6,000 credit. So we've had some contracts. You aren't necessarily going to get it on a house that's fresh on the market or has 10 offers on it, but on a house or condo that's maybe been on the market for a couple of weeks, you absolutely can go and ask for credit from the seller. The only time it would be difficult to get is if you're competing against other offers. But once again, if there's no other offers on the house and you submit the offer, they're very likely to offer you some credit to help cover the closing costs. So you could essentially get in with zero. Good question.
Yeah, great. So you said, okay. And that goes back to that negotiation, right? We talked about, we want to negotiate for you. And so as James pointed out, like sometimes we can and sometimes we can't. If it is new on the market, if it's getting a ton of activity, if it's a multiple offer situation, then unfortunately there's not a lot of negotiation we can do for you. And in those cases, what we're doing is we're taking all of our tools out of our tool belt to get that home if you want to get that home. And using our competitive offer strategies to help you get that home. So that's what we're doing if it's a competitive offer situation. But if we can negotiate, we will. And if you need help to cover the down payment and closing costs, we can negotiate that if there's an opportunity to do so. So as a reminder, going back, I'm like, did I say, I think I told you, but the one-on-one consultation, just to remind you what we do in that. So when we meet one-on-one with you, as I mentioned, we can do it on Zoom. Most of the time we're doing it on Zoom. If you want to do it in person, we can do it in person, but we love doing it on Zoom. We will find out more about your wants and needs in order to help identify the right homes in the right locations, to develop that strategy for you. Again, if you need, if you're looking for down payment assistance help, right, from the seller, then we might look at homes that have been on the market for longer. So building that strategy after we learn your wants and needs, but then also share with you the current market statistics and trends so that you understand what's happening in our market, which again changes, it can change on a dime and definitely changes with the seasons for sure. And then walking through the rest of the steps to the home buying process, and especially walking through the steps how to win in a competitive situation. That's a big part of what we want to make sure people have that information ahead of time in case you do fall in love with a home that ends up being competitive. We want to know how what the strategies that you can use to help win that. And then we answer any other questions that you have, which usually sets you up for a smooth, low stress home buying process. So that's what we'll do when you schedule that one-on-one consultation. And remember, it's never too soon, because we might just end up planning, okay, if you're not going to buy now, let's plan when is the right time for you to buy. What is the lowest credit for a loan is another question.
I was just answering it. So yeah, so Virginia Housing is 620. The Home Ready and Home Possible programs or first time buyer programs are now 600. FHA is 580 with 3.5% down. If you have less than 580, you need to, I think, put down either 5 or 10%. So VA loans, I would say on a whole 600, although I might be able to go a little bit lower depending on the parameters. So 600 for conventional, 620 Virginia Housing, FHA, 580, below 580, you're gonna need a larger down payment. And VA is probably 600, but potentially lower depending on the parameters. Good question. Great question, actually.
Yeah, that is a great question.
So James, during your presentation, you talked about, like, say someone, the more money you make, it might eliminate you from some of these grants. Do you have like a range of salaries to?
Yeah, like Home Ready, the Home Ready program, which would be paired with that 1% grant. I think that's about 129.6. Okay. Virginia Housing is based on the individual person. Virginia Housing is based on the household. And that could be beneficial if you have kids or whatever, because then you have more people. But theirs works, it's like 148 to get the grant. If you're 2 people or less, if you're 2 people or more, I think it jumps to 174. And then the 101.5% is much higher. That would be specifically for the grant. But if you are using the 101.5% financing, I would say it's probably somewhere around 180 with 2 people. With 3 people or more in the household, I think it jumps all the way to 215. And then they have another program that they launched a couple of years ago where you don't have to be a first-time buyer. And I think it goes up to an income of like 246 or 247. So pretty flexible and pretty generous. And it's funny, if you look at some of the stuff in like Oklahoma or Ohio, parts of Ohio, like the income limits are like, 57,000 or 74,000 or whatever. So here we do, since we have a higher income, obviously as an area, the income guidelines are very forgiving. They're very high, relatively speaking. Let's put it that way.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I was going back through the chat and I found a question that you answered, Jane, but maybe not the whole thing. The question was, how many grants can you stack together? Are there any restrictions?
Well, yeah, the one program, the grant I was speaking with as far as the ACM Home Start, that's going to be individually because that cannot be paired. That's a Fannie Mae product that cannot be paired with Virginia Housing. So the Virginia Housing, you could do with the Virginia Housing Spark, like the Spark program, which is the one I didn't have the slide on, just because it's not available. That will be rolled out per county. It'll go out to Alexandria, it'll go out to Arlington, Fairfax, Spotsy, P-Dub, all of them. So the timing is we never have any notification until we get something goes, Spark money's coming next week. So that's the kind of information we get. It's not like, hey, on this date. It's just kind of like, hey, they're releasing the Spark money. Here's the time. The Spark money just follows the normal Virginia housing guidelines. So it's the same income limits. And then what happens is once you get under contract, you register for the grant with Virginia Housing, and then you register for the Spark 1% reduction in interest rate with the county. You'll have to fill out a separate county intake form, which is simple, just your name, address, stuff like that. It's just a 1-page thing. And then we actually send that over with them with the contract and the loan application. And then they go ahead and they will lock in your Spark funds. Those will be limited and they will go very quickly. I actually got the very last person in Fairfax. I got the last 2 people in Fairfax County last year. One person utilized the grant. One person utilized 101.5% financing. Both got 1% off their interest rate.
Well done, James.
Thank you.
So I was going back through the chat again to make sure I answered everybody's questions. Someone iPhone 2, it looks like, said, I have a better understanding I think this is when we asked how everyone was feeling. I have a better understanding, but still feeling unsure. I just know I want to own and ready to do whatever I need to get there. So showing up here was the first step, right? And so again, you've got, more information now than you did when you started. And this is what we do full time, right? All of us here are full time in the business. You all have full time jobs, probably. If you're going to buy a home, you probably have a full time job or full time income doing something else. We do this full time. And so that next to help you answer the rest of your questions that's why we offer these one-on-one consultations. There is no cost, there is no obligation. We work for free until closing, with the hopes that you do decide to work with us. And, we ask the seller to pay that commission, and they are going to typically do that. But we are here to educate you about the process, answer your questions, find out your wants and needs. Because again, even though you're looking on your own, we know you're doing that. That's fine. We're better at it, and we've got more time. I think we were talking about that earlier. Kristen earlier reminded me, we were talking about something about, we know, what houses, we know what neighborhoods, what homes sell for in the different neighborhoods. So even if there's not something on the market right now, when you tell us what you're interested in, we can say, oh, I know this neighborhood sells for that, or I think you might like this neighborhood based upon your wants and needs. And that's where, again, we can tap into that below the surface of what might not be on the market now, but what might be coming to the market. There are certain agents that, work in certain areas. So again, when it's like, oh, if I know you're going to like something over here, I can reach out to that agent and say, hey, do you have anything coming? So again, that's our full-time job, is to help identify the right homes for you, walk you through the rest of the steps for the home buying process to make sure that you understand what you need to understand, but also you don't have to know all of it, because when you work with us, again, that we take care of it. Ernst, he handles the deadlines and the inspections and making sure that everything is ordered, and he's sending you emails every step of the way so that you know what is coming next. Make sure that your utilities are scheduled before closing. You don't need to know that all up front. When you work with us, we give it to you as you go. Again, we want the process to be as smooth and low stress as possible. And so we educate you, we share the current statistics and trends, we learn your wants and needs to find the right home, and give you the overview of the process and get you connected with James. Make sure, again, that he's then answering your questions and identifying the right programs for you. So that is what you get when you sign up for that one-on-one consultation. And other questions? So the link is there if there are no other questions. So the bottom of the chat is the link, and the QR code here as well takes you to the link. Would these programs work with various homes such as HUD homes or tax liens? James, I'll hand that back.
I think. Good question. I mean, I could find out the answer. I don't see why, unless HUD makes it specifically go through one of their, unless they make it go through like Fannie or Freddie, then you couldn't do Virginia housing. I guess I'd have to find out more information.
Kristen, was it you that there was a buyer that was going through the Alexander City program? Was that you? Do you want to talk about that program? So
I don't know enough to confidently speak on it at the moment, but no, sorry, I don't.
So I think just what I was going to share there is that sometimes there are programs through the different jurisdictions, and you they might have more information in the different jurisdictions, but it is not limited to the people there. Like you don't have to work with just the people there because that was it was like, right? Remember that's what I'm trying to remember
Yes,
what
sorry.
happened.
Yes, they have, yeah, they would could give you like for their preferred lenders or preferred agents, but you don't have to use them. That's right. Sorry, I wasn't understanding the question. Yep.
Well, and so again, and so sometimes they do have a list of homes, right? And so, yeah, it goes back to like there's different programs in the different jurisdictions and figuring out how to piece them together. Um, so yeah. Any other questions? That question, sorry, we didn't answer the best. So James, I think James is probably the best one to get more information about that.
Yeah, I don't see why there'd be a problem unless there was a certain restriction put forth by like HUD or something. So other than that, I don't see any reason why you couldn't get financing if it's a normal sale. It's just the seller is the entity as opposed to a normal person. So yeah, it shouldn't, as long as the title's clean and everything, I don't see why a reason you couldn't do that.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? If there's no other questions, we will wrap up. I know we've had some people schedule the consultation and we do have, between the three of us, we do have times available on the weekdays and the weekends to do those consultations with you to take that next step. And remember, just if you do the consultation, it doesn't mean that you're signing up to buy a home. It means you're signing up to get more information. And to come up with a plan for to get ready, right? For when is the right time for you. And also to help you get connected with James and make sure that he is helping to identify what programs can work for you. And again, maybe get in line for some of those programs that are going to come out later. You are welcome, Michelle. Thank you for the thank you. Thank you to Micah, if I'm saying that right. Hopefully I didn't butcher that. Uh, and so, yeah, again, we'll hang out for just a couple more minutes if anyone wants to unmute or throw any other questions in there. And like I said, the emails that you got came from me and the text messages that you got came from me. So you can text me back, you can email me back, and we can make sure that you have what you need. But really, those next steps include connecting with us uh, to learn more and find out more and hopefully put us to work for you to help you get into that home so that you can start building equity for yourselves. Uh, thank you, Nicole. We look forward to talking with you as well. Have a great night. Thank you, Mrs. K. Glad that you found it informative. All right. Well, we appreciate you all showing up and spending some of your time with us this evening. We look forward to meeting with as many of you as we can. Like I said, we've got appointments through the 22nd. There's 3 of us to do those consultations. And James is like an extension of the Homes by Mason team. He's not officially on the Homes by Mason team, but frankly, he might as well be. So we work hand in hand, side by side all the time. All right, I'm not seeing any other questions. Some other people have dropped off. You're welcome, Lim. And James is saying goodbye. So thank you all for being here. And we hope to connect with you all and help you get into that first home soon. Have a great night, everyone.
Hi, everyone. Thanks.
Bye.